Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, everybody, for tuning back in once again for another episode of Logic. Hope everybody can see me, hear me good. We live here on Friday, opening day for hunting season, November 15th here in Michigan. It is a lot going on. It is a lot going on. We got State Representative Stephen Carra joining us today. Brother Steve Carra will be tuning in soon. And until he jump on, I'm going to be just discussing some of the topics going on in Michigan and some of the things I want to discuss with him as well. It's a lot going on. Got my new studio set up. It's coming along real nice. And excited about that. I just got to continue to tweak it and get it where I need it to be. But yeah, we got Brother Steve Carra coming on, State Rep Steve Carra coming on to discuss some important things. So I'm gonna wait for him to come on and touch into that. But man, what's going on with FEMA in Michigan? You know, it's a lot of buzz on the internet right now. People have gotten wind to some suspicious activity. It's been spreading across the alternative media, the underground media, like a wildfire. Shouts out to Sister Needy, the Needy Homesteader YouTube channel. She posted a video about it last week. It went viral. And from there, I've been seeing all type of alternative media outlets, underground media outlets, citizen journalists taking this story and investigating it and running with it. So a lot of eyes are on this. And the deep state or whoever pulling these strings, they hate it when the people find out what's going on. What's going on, Sister Diane, Brother Mitchell in the building? Yeah, it's a lot going on in regards to FEMA and the questions that people have. I'm gonna see what Brother Carra, State Rep Carra, know about that as well, if he has heard anything. But we're gonna be discussing it today. So it looked like Brother Steve is just getting on here. We're gonna get him in and do a mic check and make sure everything all right. Can y'all hear us all right, Brother Mitchell, Sister Diane, and whoever else might be watching? How you doing today, Steve?
Doing well. How are you, Logic?
Not bad, not bad. I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me good?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, well, good to have you on today. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, good to be back. Good to be back.
Yes. Yes, yes. It's always a pleasure. And like I say, we want to continue to have you on regularly, and I appreciate it very much. Um, it's a lot going on in Michigan and across the nation, as we are well aware of. I want to give you time to bring some light to some topics that you think are important and you want to bring awareness to, and then we can discuss other topics as well.
Sure. So, of course, we know last week had a great day. We have President Trump coming back in January, and many people probably already know, but those who don't, we will get control of the Republican House majority in Michigan coming up next year as well with the 58-52. But the good news is with that narrow majority, myself and the other Freedom Caucus members in the more conservative wing of our party have an opportunity to influence the public policy more because any bill that passes through the House is either going to need Freedom Caucus support or Democrat support in order to get across the finish line. And the more people understand this from the state of Michigan and understand that in 2021, for example, when Jason Wentworth was the Speaker of the House, he brought forward so many bills that the Democrats were voting in support of. he actually had a voting record more similar to the furthest left Democrat than he did to me on the far right end of the spectrum. And we don't want a process moving forward next term where our leadership works with the Democrats. If the Democrats want to vote yes on something that we're working on, great, more power to them. They can come across and vote yes sometimes. I vote yes sometimes with some Democrat bills on occasion, not very often, but we get to steer the ship. And we want to steer the ship with a Republican majority doing what the strong conservatives of the caucus also agree is a good idea, and not saying we're just going to have everybody go along to get along and vote yes. And if a few Republicans vote no, we'll just get Democrats to vote yes and then get it across the finish line. That's a recipe for bigger government, more intrusion in our lives. So the more we can influence that culture and ensure that we get the conservative wing of the Republican Party on board, they can only lose 2 votes. There's more than that of us in the Freedom Caucus. So again, they either need to work with us or they need to work with Democrats. We want them working with us, not the Democrats. And that'll be up to us as a state of Michigan to ensure that happens.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Now, did the Freedom Caucus happen to grow a little bit with the pickups this election?
Yeah, good question. That remains to be seen. We're having conversations through that process. There are a few freshmen coming in who we are in conversation with to see if they will be joining the Freedom Caucus. But we have some who are not in the Freedom Caucus who will be returning members who we have a decent working relationship with. And they don't vote the same way on everything, but we have a good working relationship with. And the more that we can build those relationships and influence the Republican caucus, even if they're not in the Freedom Caucus, the better. So that's the world we're going to have to navigate, is on one hand, holding feet to the fire of not going along to get along with corrupt status quo type of politics, but at the same time, trying to win them over to come our way with standing our ground and not going their way at all. And I guess what I'd say to that is it's the definition of compromise versus compromised with the D. Compromise is saying, hey, as long as we're doing a bill that gets us in a better direction, we can support that. That's a compromise. It may not be everything I want, but at least it gets us somewhere better than where we are today. Compromise is a good thing, but compromised where you vote yes on a bad bill, that's the unacceptable route. We can't ever be compromised. That's my objective. And that's where I stand strong and say, no, I'm never going to be compromised, but I will be willing to compromise. And that's what I think we need to have for the perspective. My first year in Lansing as a representative, I was told by several colleagues, hey, Steve, you're voting no too often. I know these bills aren't the best bills. And yeah, it is bigger government and more regulations and everything. But if you vote yes on these bills, you'll build relationship with your colleagues, and then they'll be more likely to vote yes on your bill. So I just want to give you that little tip of advice. And I'm like, I didn't come to Lansing to do what everybody else did to build friends and relationships with Lansing. I want to work on good causes with people, but I'm not going to do the same thing everybody else is doing. That's not going to solve the problem of the culture of status quo politics. So I think we need to grind against that and stand up for free markets and equal opportunity for everybody and stand strong. So that we'll have a better opportunity to do that with Republican majority next term than we've had for these last 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's exciting for us to gain some type of ground in our state, and we know our situation, how it's been for the past couple of years, and it's exciting. It's exciting. So what is the status as far as the Senate races? I know we had some shenanigans going on in Michigan along with other states. Do you have any information or details that's come out regarding the Senate races and Mike Rogers, for example, his race, or what's the stance or balance in our Senate? They still control the Senate, the Democrats?
Yeah, so the Senate will remain in Democrat control 20 to 18. In Michigan, just to remind everybody, the way the Michigan Senate works is they're up every 4 years. So they'll be up again in 2026. All 38 of them will be, but none of them had an election in 2024 here. Unlike the U.S. Senate, like you're saying with Mike Rogers, about 1/3 of the U.S. Senate is up every 2 years. they serve 6-year terms in a rotation, 1/3 each 2 years. And so, yeah, nationally, we have a Republican control of the U.S. Senate. Mike Rogers, very, very tight race is what the results are showing, and showing just a narrow defeat. And, my thought on Mike Rogers, I voted for him, but he's a Fred Upton, Mitt Romney type of Republican. Not my first choice, but it is time to come together and be united in November. So he did get my vote. But I would rather have more of a constitutionalist, minimal government type of guy. But he did get my vote in November. Although of course he didn't get it in August for me. We get conservative victories in primaries, then we need to come together and get those Republican victories in November. Because even if Mike Rogers isn't my favorite, I still want the Rand Pauls of the world to be serving in majority, not in minority. I get a chance to serve in majority next term, and that gives me a better chance to be successful than when we're in minority. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I feel the same exact way about Mike Rogers. He got my vote as well, but I know it's been talk about late night voter dumps and stuff like that, and affecting Senate races across the nation, and just was curious about that. But we'll continue to find out more as time progresses. Yes, son.
Yeah, I'm cold out there.
Okay, grab a blanket. Daddy'll be out there in a minute, okay?
What's those cold blankets too?
Okay, go grab one.
Okay.
Okay, so what else would you like to I know you said you had some other information as well, graph you wanted to discuss. I might be able to bring up a picture of it. But
Yeah. If you are able to pull that up, I'll start talking about it. If you're able to get it up, great. If not, I can just discuss. I kind of did briefly mention that earlier. It's a graph of showing how often each of us voted no back in 2021. Again, we had a Republican Speaker of the House and a Republican Senate Majority Leader. So we had Republican leadership who got to decide what came up for a vote. And what ended up happening was the speaker, what he does is if he brings something up for a vote, he votes yes. That's just been how it's been in Michigan. They always vote yes on something that they allow to come up for a vote. The speaker has so much power, arguably, and I think very confidently, way too much power, regardless of who the speaker is. And so there were over 600 votes, and it was 640 votes in 2021. And of those 640 votes, I voted no 270 times. So I actually voted yes more often than I voted no under Republican leadership, but I voted no about 40% of the time. And that ended up being more often than the furthest left Democrat voted no. So the Speaker of the House is bringing up votes more consistent with the furthest left Democrats than he was with the furthest right Republicans. And that just goes to show you that our leadership is bringing forward policies inconsistent with the most conservative wing or the base of the Republican Party. When the Democrats have leadership, I don't have a graph of when Speaker Tate has been speaker for these last 2 years, but I do know off the top of my head that the voting records most consistent with the Speaker of the House are the Democrats. Very lockstep, in unison, a little bit of disparity in how they vote, but a much more lockstep the same way. And the Republicans, I see you got it small there on the screen. Yeah, there it is. So the speaker is this on the x-axis there, down at the bottom, the red down there in that bottom swale. That's you're pointing at me. That up there, that top red dot up there just above your cursor, that was me, that top one. And then John Riley and Steve Johnson were those two dots right below that one. So we were the most conservative wing, and then Matt Maddock is the next dot down from those. So those top four dots were John Riley, Steve Johnson, me, Matt Maddock. And then the Speaker of the House, if you like the furthest down dot, kind of almost getting towards where the blue is, where they never voted no, was the Speaker of the House. So like right down from where your cursor is now, that'd be the Speaker of the House's votes like that. And then the Democrats over there are in blue. All those red dots on the right are us Republicans. All those left dots over there were the ones ranked the most, the furthest left. And so you see that the red dots voting no the most often, of course, at different times in the Democrats voting no. We usually, at least, we voted no more often than the furthest left Democrats, yet we were ranked the most conservative. And that there's a pretty strong correlation, as you see. You can see a curvature to that map that's quite steady. I think it's an indicator, and it's a little bit of a complicated thing to do to analyze that graph. But that graph right there tells a powerful story that I hope the people of Michigan take the time to review and look into. And we don't want that graph. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, each one of these dots is a representative.
Yes. Yep. The top right dot is me. The two dots below that were Steve Johnson and John Riley. And so that grouping of three in there, we were the most conservative. Where's your cursor? Okay, I see your cursor moving around a bit. Well, your cursor is showing up a little bit different of a spot on the map than where the graph is for me. So I don't know what's going on with that.
Okay. I'm sharing.
So I just see a small. Yeah, only about 1/8 of the screen that I see is this small little graph there. I'm not sure how everybody else sees it.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, right there. You're honing in on the 3 right there when you do it like that.
Okay.
So that's me right there. You're right on my dot right there in 2021. Then those two down there, those are Steve Johnson and John Riley. We were the most conservative.
Okay.
And neither of them are returning members. And then down there where you're getting to now, that's Matt Maddock.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
And then the rest, and then you see the rest weren't voting no very often as you get further down there, hardly ever voting no. And right there where you are now, going back, right there, that's the Speaker of the House down there at the bottom of the swale.
Wow.
Just a little bit right. Never voting no. And then when you go further to the left there, you see the Democrats in blue. Yep. And then those are the more moderate Democrats. And then you keep going further and further over. And then you see how often those ones are voting no over there. They're voting no a fair amount over there. Those are the furthest left Democrats. But you see, I voted no more often than any of those Democrats did. But we had a Republican speaker. That's a problem.
Now, our speaker now, I've just seen something come out about Matt Hall. What is he? Who is he? Is he the current speaker?
Starting in January, yeah, that's the trajectory we're on. So the election was Tuesday, November 5th, and then on Thursday, November 7th, just 2 days after the election, the 58 of us state house members who won our races, we all convened in Lansing and went into a Republican caucus, and we in that Republican caucus, we discussed who we wanted to have as the next Speaker of the House. And Tom Kuntz and Matt Hall were running for Speaker. And Matt Hall is the one who ended up getting the majority support out of our caucus. So we as a group in our votes chose Matt Hall. And then once we go in January, we'll have a formal vote with the Democrats present where Matt Hall will need to get a majority, 56 out of 110 by that point. And then he'll become Speaker of the House. That's just the way it's happened. Before is you caucus, and then in January, everybody votes, and then majority or more, and you win. And traditionally, it's basically almost 100% unanimous support for anybody for Speaker. But a weird dynamic on that I would say is there's only been 10 votes since I've looked back to 1997, and I think going quite a bit earlier than that as well. There's only been 10 votes against anybody for Speaker of the House. It's just been precedent that everybody just votes yes. Republicans and Democrats all vote yes for whoever that party chose as their Speaker. In 2013, there were 2 Democrats who did not vote for Jace Bolger, the Republican, for Speaker of the House. So it was like a 108-2 vote. But then in 2023, when the Democrats got control, myself and 7 others, we said, it doesn't matter who the Democrats put forward to be speaker. I don't care what type of formal ceremonial vote people have done in the past. I didn't go to Lansing to vote for a Democrat to be Speaker of the House. Like, congratulations, Democrats, you have control. You all should get together and unite and vote for your Democrat to be speaker. And us Republicans should vote no, because we don't want any of you to be speaker. But it is what it is, and we'll press forward. That's the route it should be. But 8 of us voted no, and in 2023. But I'll be voting yes for any Republican for speaker is my stance. Now that he won, he got the majority, just like in caucus, just like in the primaries. I always vote for the most conservative in the primary. Then I vote for the Republican, like Mike Rogers in November, because he's our Republican. Same thing, caucus. I vote how I want in caucus. Now it's time to come together and vote for Matt Hall in January. That's my perspective on it. So,
okay. Yeah, something had popped up on one of my feeds saying something about Matt Hall for speaker. So I just wanted to ask you about that. But
yeah.
Okay. Now, as far as this lame duck session or whatever we finna experience, for the people who aren't familiar with that term and the session or this what we about to enter into, can you explain what Michigan lame duck is all about or whatever?
Yeah, I've got a couple thoughts on that one too. So lame duck is that period of the 2-year term after the election and while we continue to convene for session. So the Democrats having the House, Senate, and governor for the remainder of November and December here, this is the lame duck period because the Republicans won control of the House on November 5th, but the new legislature isn't seated until January. So these next 2 months of voting are under the previous 2 years still. And lame duck, it gets that term. It has a negative connotation. It has bad perspective and image because a lot of bad policy ends up coming out in lame duck. The Democrats haven't had the trifecta of the House, Senate, and governors in the past 40 years. This is their first time. They've done a lot of terrible things in the last 2 years. And then this is the last few weeks they have here to where they can do whatever they want. And there's nothing we Republicans can do to stop them. And so we had our first week of a lame duck experience this week, Tuesday through Thursday. And they brought forward a lot of bills, a lot of bad bills. And one of them, the big victory, was national popular vote not coming up. We'll see if they bring it up later in December when we go back. But we're off for hunting for this next week, and then we're off for Thanksgiving the next week, and then we'll be back in December for 2 or probably 3 weeks of a heavier load. Instead of being maybe 4 or 5 or 7 or 8 votes in a day, you have the likelihood of having 15, 20, 30, maybe even 50 or 75 votes in a day. So it's extremely heavy. Oh yeah, it could be bad. It could be bad. And that's what lame duck does. A lot of bills, a lot of bad bills, a lot of last minute chances to get something across the finish line. Democrats pushing their agenda while they can. That's what we have to fear. But going back to our most recent, my first term when we had Jason Wentworth and Mike Shirkey as our leaders in the House and Senate, we had a Republican control. And we were turning the keys over to the Democrats for the first time in 40 years to have the trifecta. My thought was we should go out with the bite. We should go out and say, boys should not be competing against girls in girls' sports. Like, let's pass that bill. And they're like, well, the governor would veto it anyway. What's the point? I'm like, that's the exact point. Put the egg on her face, make her look bad for taking such a foolish stance and vetoing something like that. But they didn't see the sense in that. And it's like, if you've got a new dog that's moving to town and it's got a big bark and a big bite, and it's going to come in and it's going to control for the next 2 years. what are we supposed to do? Go hide in the corner? Because that's what we did, is we just went and we hid in the corner. And then that ferocious dog came in with even more power and control and dominance over us. So we set the foundation for the last 2-year term with our leadership doing nothing in lame duck. Our lame duck 2 years
Right.
ago was lame. We didn't do it.
Exactly.
We gave up. We threw our hands in the air and quit.
Well,
That was a terrible idea.
and that's because the establishment, the rhinos in Michigan and all that, they probably knew you brought a good idea, but they didn't want to. And so before that, we controlled it for 40 years, the Republicans in Michigan.
We had either the House, the Senate, or the governor for the 40 years prior. We had at least one of the three.
Okay, so the lame duck period, when we could have rammed through a lot of positive stuff, we failed to do so.
Correct.
And now they're gonna show us how it's done.
Likely.
Now,
and it's unfortunate that they stick to their guns better than our side of the aisle does, unfortunately. But there is a little bit of a shift to where I think the Republican legislature has some hope of being a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more bold than it has been in the past.
Okay. And now, when the new session starts, y'all will be able to challenge a lot of the lame duck legislation and try to reverse some of it, or fight back, or what?
Definitely can try and definitely can make that noise, but we can get things with Republican control through the House, which is good news. But anything we get through the House, still, the Senate over there is in Democrat control, and we still have Whitmer, just like 4 years ago. They still had Whitmer then. So we did not have the trifecta with Whitmer in there. But we can still do our job in the House and make them look bad for sitting on it in the Senate. We can apply that type of pressure, and we can gridlock their bad policies from happening. So that's probably the biggest thing we can do, is stop the bad things from happening. It's going to be hard for us to make good things happen with the Democrats having the Senate and governor still, but we can stop bad things from happening. And largely, if in 2 years we have the exact same policies as we had today, I'll take that over what I think it's going to end up being, because government just continues to get bigger and more intrusive in our lives. It's harder to roll back bad government once it's already in place. It's harder to get rid of regulations than it is to create them. It's harder to lower taxes than it is to raise them. If we just don't do any harm for the next 2 years, that largely I would chalk that up as a victory. Unfortunately, the history tells us it'll probably be worse. But the more that we can stop bad things from happening, the more we can gridlock, the better.
All right. Yeah, we take the governor's position back in 2026, so we'll really be able to do a lot more too.
Yeah, we do that, and we get the Senate, then we're really talking. But at least we have one, and ideally we want all three.
Yeah, we definitely made some noise this election and let them know we ain't playing no more games.
Right.
Okay. Well, I got a few things jotted down to discuss, but if you got anything else, any other topics or points you want to bring forward, you got plenty of time.
I guess you just want to get into whatever is on your mind. I probably have another 10, 15 minutes left here, and then I should get going.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we was discussing the lame duck. I know the 2A EDU YouTube channel. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this channel at all, but podcaster, citizen journalist, gun enthusiast, he puts out educational videos about 2A, the Second Amendment, and he does a lot of coverage in Michigan as well. And he been discussing a lot of these lame duck gun control bills that's been getting passed through. And what have you seen on that 2A side of it? Anything?
Yeah, well, this week we had one on not having the right to keep and bear arms within 100 feet of a polling location that came back from the Senate. That's just a terrible policy. Uh, I don't know any stories in Michigan of any type of violence that's been done, to where this would be something that would even be seen as necessary. But even if it was, law abiding citizens should not be punished because of crimes that criminals do. People who break laws are going to break laws anyway. And if they know other people aren't going to have guns at the polling location, it makes it even more likely for them to go and feel confident that they can do what they want to do, knowing that they're probably not going to be faced with a lethal firearm in response. And what I think the Democrats are doing with saying that we can't have guns within 100 feet of polling locations is they want to suppress the vote. They want to suppress Second Amendment advocates and people, law-abiding civilians who want to exercise their right to keep and bear arms. They want to keep them home because they know that they're more likely to vote for Republicans than to vote for Democrats. So that's what I think the legislation is about, as they're trying to influence the election in their favor. Because if 10,000 people, just making up an arbitrary number, if 10,000 people out of 10 million in the state of Michigan were going to vote on election day, they don't want to vote absentee. They decide, you know what, I'm just not going to vote. If 7,000 of those are Republicans and 3,000 of them are Democrats, that's a 4,000 vote swing. And that's a big number. So, I mean, we're talking the Mike Rogers one we're talking thousands of votes, tens of thousands of votes. 4,000 is a huge component of that. And so that's why I think they're doing it. It's not about keeping people safe. It's about suppressing Second Amendment advocates and Republicans from voting. And I think that should just inspire people to vote more. And I'd encourage you, if you have to go vote and you can't bring your gun with you on election day, well, take the risk and be inspired to do it even more. And then, exercise your right to keep and bear arms right away afterward if you have to.
Yeah, I think I agree, and they just chipping away more and more at our Second Amendment, especially with the lame duck season. Why not do what they have power to do at this moment? But it should be more of a reason to get out there and vote and expose this stuff and stand against it. I agree. FEMA, have you heard anything regarding all this stuff? It's a lot of people investigating and asking questions with what's going on in FEMA with FEMA in Michigan. I'm not sure if you've seen some of the recent videos or whatnot regarding this, but it's a lot of buzz going on across the nation regarding what's going on with FEMA here in Michigan.
Yeah, I've seen many people have sent me videos on that, articles on that. Actually, you were one of them. I think Monday you were one of the first people to. And we've had this, lame duck again Tuesday through Thursday, all those votes. I'm just getting caught up in, today with everything. So it's a lot of reading bills and not able to look into that as much as I want to. I would encourage, if you want to share more on that than I can at this time, but I do, of course, know, it's up there, a Skoda area there just south of Alpena in the Northeast Lower Peninsula, something about 350 trucks and everything there. And it is alarming, just this military state type of atmosphere that we feel like this imposing government and nanny state and monitoring what we're doing and being ready to, control and manipulate society type of threats. Like, this is absolutely the global elitist type of agenda. What is actually happening in Oscoda and why, I don't have anything substantial to add to that extent. I think monitoring it, keeping our eyes and ears open is definitely something that people should be doing with this situation. But I don't have any inside information, unfortunately, as to what exactly is going on up there. So that's the extent of my knowledge on it.
For sure. For sure. And I mean, those are the exact concerns people have. And, so we rightfully curious and intrigued by everything that's going on, knowing the nature of who and what we up against. So yeah, a lot of people I'm amazed by how many people, how many eyes are on the situation, not only in Michigan, but across the nation. It's spread like a wildfire. And I know the people who are trying to push these type of agendas don't like it when people are aware and on top of it. So I know it's plenty of people on top of it. I'm gonna stay on top of it. I'm glad you're aware of it and have the same type of concerns as many of people across Michigan. And yeah, we're gonna continue to be on it.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. That and national popular vote, those are the two. Dozens of people reaching out on both of those in this past week. And national popular vote for that one, I guess there's probably just share with people where that one's at. That was on the agenda to be voted on this week on, I believe it was Wednesday, but it got removed from the agenda. It didn't have enough support, so that was the good news there. The idea for national popular vote is to basically sidestep the electoral college, and the founders had the vision for electoral college to ensure that the smaller states aren't dominated by the bigger states too much. So the electoral vote process works. Michigan has 15 electoral votes, and that number is because we have 13 U.S. congressmen, which is based on population. We have about one for every 775,000 people, 10 million people in the state of Michigan. So that's 13. And then we have 2 U.S. senators. Every state, of course, has 2 U.S. senators. So our 13 congressmen plus our 2 U.S. senators adds up to 15. So Michigan gets 15 electoral votes. Wyoming has at least 1 congressman, which is what they have, being the smallest population, but they still have 2 U.S. senators. So Wyoming gets 3 electoral votes. And then you go over to California, is the most populated. They actually lost a congressman for the first time in history with the recent census. They went down from 55 to 54 for electoral votes. So they have 52 U.S. congressmen and their 2 U.S. senators makes 54. And if we do the national popular vote compact, right now it's 209 electoral votes in the compact. So there's a group of, it's about 15 states, 13, 14, 15 states, somewhere in that range, who've signed on to the compact. That adds up to 209 electoral votes. There's 538 total electoral votes. So it's a path to 270, 270 being a majority of 538. Well, of that 209 where we're at currently, that compact is dormant until 270 is hit. If enough states join the national popular vote compact where it has 270 electoral votes, then those states have pledged that they will send their electoral votes, not for who wins their state, but for who wins the national popular vote. Michigan would bring that number from 209 up to 224, which is right on the doorstep of getting to that 270 threshold. So we don't want to join that operation. We'd rather Michigan not join is where we're at. Good news is it didn't come up, Logic. Did not come up this week, but we'll see what happens in December.
So the 15 or so states that's part of that compact, are they like Democrat controlled states, or are they like, is it a pattern across them?
I don't know all the states off the top of my head. I believe it is a pattern of mostly Democrat states, but I would have to go back and look at what the exact breakdown is. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, thank you for expanding on that. That's an interesting point, and I think we need to be aware of it. Okay, so before you get up out of here, just wanted to see what your take. I seen a post on X a day or two ago talking about the Michigan governor's race. Any ideas of potential candidates? Or it's a little early still, but we we got to get prepared. So do you have any potential candidates or anything of that nature that you can because they was throwing around some names and I'm like, man, my boy Steve
Yeah.
Carra way better than that.
Yeah. So there's some names out there that I've heard, but I don't want to get into or signal who I might possibly be behind too early in
For
case they
sure.
don't run. I'll let them come forward on their time if they do. And so I think what I'll do is, instead of talking about the Republicans, which you're probably more asking about, I'll just give you an update on what I know from the Democrat side, just to not overstep and jump into that ahead of my
Okay.
time. But I appreciate the effort. We'll go Democrats on this one. Jocelyn Benson, Secretary of State. She's been known for a while as a likely candidate. So now Jocelyn Benson and then the Mayor Duggan of Detroit, those have been the two who've been tossed around for a while. And also Pete Buttigieg, who just moved up from South Bend up to the Traverse City area. And there's also Swanson. He's
Oh
law
yeah, Chris
enforcement.
Swanson. Yeah.
Yeah, in the Flint
Yeah.
area. Those four names. I think there's others, but surprisingly, I heard from a colleague just this week that Buttigieg is pulling at about 38% in the primary, and Jocelyn Benson at about 13 in second, and then Duggan a little behind at about 12%, something like that. So I was surprised by how high up Buttigieg was in those early numbers for their prospective nominee. Jocelyn Benson was what I thought would be their front runner, but apparently she's in second if the election were today. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure there's a very good chance that Benson will run, a very good chance that Duggan will run. Swanson, it sounds like, is probably going to run. He has less name ID, but he is, I guess he's supposed to be articulate and well-spoken. He could make a run at it and come from out of nowhere from a lot of people's perspective. But that's what we have with Gretchen Whitmer is we have somebody, Gretchen Whitmer, she speaks well and she sells their garbage well. That's what the Democrats want, is somebody who can sell their garbage well, who will do their bidding. But that's the problem with Joe Biden. Joe Biden was willing to do their terrible policies, but he wasn't good at selling it. That was their problem with Biden. So they had to get rid of him. But we'll see what they do with.
All right. Yeah, and on the Republican side, we know it's going to be a few contenders that ran last time. We know we'll as time progresses, we'll dig more into that. But I appreciate your insight on that and on everything we discussed today. And I appreciate it, man. I know you got to get going, so I won't take much of your time. But again, thank you very much, brother. Steve
Good
Carra.
seeing you as always.
Peace.
See you, Logic.
All right. There you have it, brother Steve Carra in here. He a fighter, man. He's turned more and more into a bulldog as time progressed, which is what you want. You don't want to become more compromised and more soft over time while you in legislation. You want to become more and more stronger, more and more aware of your surroundings, more and more vocal to your constituents and to the people of your state. And I believe that Steve Carra been doing all that. I appreciate having him in there, part of the Freedom Caucus and part of the Warriors and legislation here in Michigan. Shout out to Rep. Joshua Shriver as well. He part of that Freedom Caucus, I believe, I'm sure of, and I believe him and Carra are pretty close. They of the same caliber, and Shriver been bringing transparency, trying to fight for transparency with the elections and with many other subjects and topics as well. Shout out to brother Pat Colbeck out here, top tier warrior from Michigan. He pledged to continue to fight to expose all the election fraud, not just that of 2020, but what happened in this year as well. It was a lot of shenanigans going on this year, but we made it too big to rig. Shout out to the Trump campaign team for coming up with that slogan, that that agenda, making it too big to rig, because I believe we succeeded in that. It was a ton of shenanigans going on. And like Brother Carra said, with Rogers, he wasn't my first choice, but we had to unite and go behind him. And I believe that it was some shenanigans that happened late night that robbed him and other candidates across the nation of their Senate seats. But we know how it go. Yeah, man, it's lame duck session, this lame duck period we finna enter into, like I heard from Brother Carr, man. This finna be extreme, man. If you ask me, they finna ram through. He said up to 15. Normally he said it's 4 to 5 votes a day or something. He said expect 15 to 20 to 40 to 50, even 50, 60 votes in a day. Like, they just ramming stuff through. This is crazy. Like, they literally finna ram through all type of bull crap. And we gotta sift through it and try. We can't do nothing to stop it because they control the House, the Senate, and the governor. So they finna ram through so much bull crap, man. This finna be crazy in Michigan. I'm gonna do my best to keep up on this. He said they get hunting this week off for hunting, next week off for Thanksgiving. Boy, they got it good. Regular people get a day off for hunting. They get the whole week off. They gonna come back after Thanksgiving, fat stomachs, eating good. They finna come in here with whole lists of lame duck bad legislation. Anyway, if anybody got any suggestions for the governor and 2026, drop them in the comment section below. I got a couple suggestions, but it's way early. And we already know Tudor Dixon probably gonna be running. We already know James Craig probably gonna be running. You know what I'm saying? Some of the Kevin Rinke probably running again. Some of these same old people that they ran before. And Tudor has grown in publicity and in her role. Well, I'm not sure if she's doing journalism or what she's doing right now, but I know a lot of people support Tudor and like Tudor. In the first race, last governor election, 2022 or whatever, Tudor was ranked like 4th among the grassroots and among the state. It was people above her. Oh, you had Garrett Saldana, which I can't stand, but a lot of people support him. And I tried to interact with him and greet him, meet him. He treated me like crap. You know what I'm saying? And I see through a lot of his lies and nonsense, so he ain't never rubbed me the right way. But between Tudor, Garrett, Kevin Rinke, some of the same candidates, James Craig, it's gonna be dang near a repeat. Then we're gonna have all these deep state people on the left running, like he said, Buttigieg, Benson. Jocelyn Benson got some nerve to her. She like Joe Biden. She's such a puppet. She don't even have control or say so whether she run or not. People tell her what she gonna do. She don't have the power to say no, just like Biden. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't be surprised if she ended up in the race. But after losing 6, 7, 8 lawsuits as a Secretary of State, I mean, how is you going to fight that in the campaign when people just keep pointing out all these losses and lawsuits as a Secretary of State, and now you want to try to run for the governor? You don't secure our elections. You a fraudulent agent of darkness. But so is Buttigieg. I don't know much about Dugan, Mayor Dugan, but wouldn't be surprised if he was an agent of darkness as well. Anyway, we gonna see, man. Shout out to the needy homesteader and all the citizen journalists, all the patriot warriors, digital warriors out here spreading information like a wildfire. You know what I'm saying? We need to get RFK Jr. here investigating Pfizer. That's what I meant to say to brother Steve Carra. We need RFK Jr. here investigating Pfizer. We need Elon and Vivek here investigating the WHO, and we need Gretchen investigated. We need the whole Democrat legislation in Michigan investigated because they control the House. They just running crazy. They just pushing through bad legislation. We've been suffering here in Michigan, but we've been fighting. And what don't kill us make us stronger when we lean on the Lord. So, Sister Diane said, anything repugnant to the U.S. and state constitution is null and void. I agree. Yeah, we know they passing through bad legislation and unconstitutional legislation, but it's like our hands are tied, or we can't even do much about it right now. It's ridiculous, man. What's up, my little daughter, baby? Watching. Hi, baby. Yeah, man. So it's gonna be an interesting governor race. Like I say, I think it's probably gonna be dang near a repeat. You know, we got Dominion votes still in our Dominion, so it don't matter. You know, we got to expose it. We got to expose. We need Dominion investigated now. We need Dominion slash now. Elon and Vivek out here claiming to be the cleanup crew, about to fire everybody. Department of Government Efficiency. We need to cut Dominion and all those affiliated with Dominion. We need to slash them. Man, we need to get rid of them. We need to go back to hand count, and all this stuff, man. The capabilities of hacking into digital software and technology is way too high. These hackers, man, they can do this stuff with their eyes closed, and the average person won't know what's going on. So anyway, man, it's a lot more. There's a lot going on in Michigan, man. You know, we had, y'all seen that Michigan woman won $12 million after being fired. $12 million? 12 million. And most of that is what they call that? Punitive damages, or like emotional suffering and all that. Shoot, boy. They lucky they ain't fired me, because I've been right there with her. Class action lawsuit. Just give me $500,000. Just give me a piece of that pie. I know a lot of people who've been fired too, who was fired during that craziness, man. You know what I'm saying? I hope they win something too, man. A lot of these people a lot of these nurses who stood their ground went through a lot of craziness. So I hope they I hope a lot of them get paid back. Brother George in the building. Get rid of the vote rigging machine paper ballot. Yeah. Amen, brother. Well, I know I agree with that. We got to fight, man. And now is the time. Just because we just won this major victory with this election, don't mean we need to relax one bit. Take a day off, take two. But we got to get back in the, we got to continue to move forward, full steam ahead. You got to get your kids involved, get your family member, everybody who voted, all these millions and millions and millions of voters, hundreds of millions of voters across the U.S., man. We need our GOP buildings need to be filling up. Right. We got to fight for J6. We got to fight to take down the deep state media. We got to get them all the way. They sinking. That ship is sinking. The deep state media ship is sinking. And citizen journalists got to continue to rise up. you know, and it's hard out here too. Until you break through and get a strong support, strong subscribers, man, we'll be out here donating our time and energy, donating our life to this battle. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these reporters like Anderson Cooper and Anderson Cooper make like 20 million a year to get up there and lie. You know, Joy Reid making like three million a year. People like this, you know what I'm saying? These mainstream deceivers getting paid $3, $5, $10 million a year to sit up there and persuade you to believe lies. And people like me, we out here spreading truth for free. The Bible say wisdom and knowledge is more valuable than silver and gold. The Bible say with the power of the tongue, you can preach life or death. You have the power to speak life or death with the tongue. These people getting paid millions of dollars to speak death. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing my best out here to speak life through God's grace and strength and guidance. So, man, love y'all. God bless. I ain't gonna keep rambling too long. Gotta work real soon. It's a lot going on, but love y'all. Thank y'all. You know what I'm saying? We gonna keep fighting. God bless y'all. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We out. Peace.